a memory actually popped up about a week ago on my Facebook feed, and it was a picture of me almost 10 years ago now as a newly qualified yoga teacher. And I was sat there at the side of the Ganges River in Rishikesh. Like, you couldn't actually make it more of a typical like eye roll yoga photo. And there I was, all like full of my own kind of self importance and ready to go and change the world. And it really made me reflect, actually, and it's the content of what I'm going to share was, like, I'd done the whole quit my corporate job, went to India because I didn't know what else to do, and decided I was going to become a yoga teacher. And, I'm not saying this is everyone's experience, but my first few years of yoga teaching was literally hell on earth. And here's some of the reasons why that was. So, first of all, I'd only been practicing yoga about 18 months. Like, I've dabbled in yoga a lot. I was the kind of person that did the old 30-day trial. I was like a little trial whore. So I'd go to different studios and do the trial, and then I wouldn't practice for 6 months. So I actually, by the time I went on to my teacher training, I'd only had a dedicated practice. And by dedicated, I mean daily, sometimes twice a day. I'd only been doing that for about 18 months. So really, I didn't have any idea what I was doing. I had no idea. I mean, I still don't a lot of the time, but I had even less idea then. And sometimes I get I get flashbacks, and I just cringe. Like, I cringe at what I must have sounded like and how annoying I must have been to the people that actually did know what they were talking about. Um, I was so unprepared and really quite naive about what it means to teach yoga. And I'd not even really begun to integrate it for myself, and I was already out there sharing it with the whole world like I was some sort of like yoga expert. And because of that, like, I got some really tough lessons in those early days, and like, I don't regret it for a minute. But I do feel like it's important to share this because it might just help anyone out there who's thinking about doing a teacher training, or maybe you've done one and you're just like, holy hell, this is like nothing like I thought it was going to be. To hopefully just normalize it a little bit. So here's what I did, not wrong, but probably what I could have done better was, first of all, I made the whole thing all about me. I was talking like that I cared about the students, and like, like, there will have definitely been a part of me that really did, but there was a massive part of me that really just wanted to be the best yoga teacher in the whole world. And like, my validation was I got my validation from students, which is, it's just not a great thing to do. I was really fixated on like the numbers in the room, and like how that meant whether I was doing well or not. And I thought that I could fix people, and I spoke like an expert when I just, honestly, I was winging it so hard. Like, my anatomy knowledge was zero. Like, I'd done a teacher training. It was incredible experience. It was in India. It was lovely. I did meditation for hours a day. We did all the kriyas. We did some really cool stuff. But in terms of actually teaching this, I had zero. I didn't even know what a femur bone was. Like, I literally just had no idea. So I was making it up, and like, and that's fine. To some extent in the beginning, that's got to happen. But I was pretending that I did know. So I was being really inauthentic, and I wasn't willing to say, I'm brand new to this, because I was so terrified of what people would think of me. And then the other thing I did that I learned a lot from was I made it all about money. Like, I quit a high paying job. I was earning a lot of money. And I'd seen these yoga teachers getting about town, and they were always like sat in the cafes drinking chai and with these really fancy notepads, and it just looked just like the best life. I was like, these guys never work, and then they teach yoga for a living, and they can just get to be all spiritual all day, and they don't have to do the 9 to 5. And the part that I forgot was that I did actually need to make money too. And because I didn't consider the transition, and I still had all the expenses from my corporate life, I then had to do something insane to make the same amount of money in yoga. So I was teaching 30 classes a week. I had workshops on the weekend. I took on the ownership of a yoga studio, which I'm eternally grateful for. Actually, it was 2 yoga studios. And then just because that wasn't enough, I opened up a third one just for fun. And that was like the undoing of me. Like, obviously, as you can imagine, I was incredibly burnt out. I had chronic fatigue on several occasions. I lost a heap of weight and I was actually going mad. Like, I was really not well at all. And like it wasn't a good look for someone that's you know out there to help people get well, and I was cooking myself like beyond belief. So that was a really good thing to learn. Have a plan. Have a plan of how you're going to make some money. I don't think there's anything wrong with making money out of yoga. Like, I feel as though it's not making money, it's an exchange, and I don't mean that in a bullshit way. I mean like the amount of time and money and effort that people invest into this stuff, it deserves to be like an exchange. But what is important to remember is there is a transitionary period, and there'll be a period of time. Well, there was a long period of time where I really was having to work my ass off to pay the rent. So the dream was shattered. And then the other thing for me that was a real challenge, and oh God, I don't ever want that back. I just had zero sense of self. Like, my yoga teaching was born out of an existential crisis. Like, I didn't even know my own name. Like, I had no idea who I was as a person, never mind what I wanted to share as a teacher. Every time I went into the yoga classroom, and things were being reflected back at me, I thought if someone left early that I'd done something wrong. I thought everybody hated me. I thought my voice wasn't good enough, so I had to talk like a yoga teacher, and it was the worst thing ever. And I was just like a complete chameleon. Like, I was mimicking different teachers because I didn't know what my way was, and I was so afraid of being myself that wouldn't be enough. I used to go out into public and drink green juices that I hated just so that I'd look more yogic. You guys get the gist of that. I did so many trainings and workshops. Like, I was like a certificate junkie. And I think every time I did a training, I think this is the one that's going to help me like get to be good. Like, I won't need any more after this. And then I'd get it and I'd be like, oh, I just need to do one more. So it was just a real learning in like what it means to practice self-study, like to really have to study like all of the shit of mine that comes up. And we spoke last week a little bit about the way that we work through the methodology of yoga, and this is a prime example of someone, me, that had not built the foundations. I just went straight into ego, let's be the best teacher, I just want the fame, I want to be insta famous. Clearly that's never going to happen, but it was a really valuable lesson for me, and something that I feel shared is not talked about. And I know that there's more people that go through this. I know it for a fact because people talk to me about it. So look, there's a million different things you can do in order to make this a little bit easier for yourself. But if you are brand new to yoga teaching, you're considering doing a yoga teaching, or you relating to any of that stuff that I've shared, what I would suggest, and this is something that just completely changed the game for me, was to get myself a guide or a mentor. Like, in any other industry like this where we're responsible for helping people, there's supervision occurs. Yeah, in yoga it just kind of gets overlooked. So it is absolutely crucial that you have a guide or a mentor of someone that has been on this path a little bit longer than you, that has been through the things that you're about to go through, that can help you A, not lose your mind, and B, like, just to normalize it a little bit. Because what I see happen is people come out of teacher training, this shit happens, and they're like, oh my God, like, I can't do this, and then they don't teach, and that's the worst result ever. It's like, everyone needs to be teaching this stuff. So make it really, make it supportive for yourself. Make sure you've got a guide of someone that will call you on your bullshit. Definitely important, but also someone that can support you when you're struggling. Someone that can keep you accountable. Someone that's got what you want. Like you look at someone and you're like, I really want to know how to be more like that. Like how can I be more in alignment with the way that person teaches or shares, or for my when I chose my mentor, it was just his absolute honesty that I loved. He was completely himself, and I was like, I need to know how to do that because right now that's not what I'm doing. So yeah, take that on board, and like I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments, what other things you're finding challenging about yoga teaching, or if you're considering a yoga teacher training, what you're thinking, if I can help with any questions or advice or guidance or anything at all. Just pick my brains. Like I've been doing this for about where we at about 9 years full time now, so I've got a little bit of experience, and mostly I've got a lot of mistakes, and I'm absolutely happy to share them with you if it helps you not make the same ones. But you'll make different ones. No one's perfect, but it's just nice to know that what we're going through, we're not doing this on our own. And it was a really lonely time for me. I felt very, very out of sorts, and it was probably one of the most unhappiest times that I can remember. And I just realised now in hindsight that if I'd have had enough support, it probably wouldn't have been as messy. And yeah, so love to hear from you.